All right, guys, this portion of the podcast is brought to you by Turtlebox. Guys, these are without a doubt the best outdoor portable speakers on the market. They are basically 100% waterproof, nearly indestructible. These things are insane. We have used them a lot on events hosting you guys, especially on Doe Day, and I have got 3 versions in front of me right now. I've got the new smallest Ranger. You get 12 hours of runtime out of this little guy. This is perfect for taking to the beach, or I take it on my boat a lot when I'm bass fishing. The one in the middle, this is the Gen 3 original. You're getting 25 hours of runtime out of the speaker. This is probably the most unanimous or universal used speaker. It's super easy and portable to carry around. It's really loud and gives you really good sound. And the new Grande, I played this sucker the other day. It is so loud. So if you're looking to bring the house down, you're throwing a party, the El Grande is definitely your move. 40 plus hours of runtime. It's got a really good bass to it, but the sound still sounds amazing. All of these have party mode, so you can link them all up and just really blow it out, get some surround sound going. Again, if you guys are interested in these, check out turtleboxaudio.com. You can order them online, or you can check out the local retailer options for you if you're more of an in-store guy, and you can go check them out in person and pick them up. But best portable speaker on the market, hands down, turtleboxaudio.com. All right, I'm going to let y'all in on a sneaky little tip here, and I will tell you how it almost killed me, a 150-inch deer on public in Pennsylvania. So the feature I'm talking about, or little sneaky tip, is the LiDAR feature that Spartan Forge dropped on their mapping app. It reveals the forest floor in a way that is unmatched by any other app that with their topo maps, anything like that at all. And the example I'll give is in Pennsylvania, I was using the LiDAR feature and was finding these old well roads, just these little high spots that were overgrown, and every one of them was littered with rub lines and scrape lines. And I almost killed a 150-inch deer my first sit. Got a lot of good deer on camera in these areas, and it was the LiDAR feature that Spartan Forge had that was revealing them, and you would not find that on any other competing app. So if you haven't tried it, I would encourage y'all to download Spartan Forge and check out the LiDAR feature. If you want a discount, go to spartanforge.ai and use code SEEK, SEEKONE, SEEK1 at your checkout, and you'll get a 20% discount. All right, guys, this portion of the podcast is brought to you by Vortex Optics. Guys, we've been using Vortex since day one. If you look at the units I've got in front of me, I got a pair of binoculars and a spotting scope. These ain't new. These things have been through several seasons with me, and if you look at them closely, they are scarred and they are beat to death. But I've been using them, tried and true, and without fail. But here's the deal. If I had beaten these or dropped them or broken them along the way, Vortex has a true, no BS, 100% lifetime warranty on these optics. No questions asked, no receipt needed. Send them in. If you need to call them, there's actually going to be a live breathing human who hunts and shoots as much as you do to answer the phone to help you guys get situated. The pair of binoculars I've got here is the Razor HD 10x42s. These are my tried and true pair of binoculars. They're universal. I can use them basically anywhere in the country. And if I want to get a real close look, I'm pulling out this bad boy. This is the Razor HD spotting scope. It's a 22x60, and you can really get in tight with these things to get a good look at these deer. It's summertime. They're out feeding. If you can lay eyes on them, your optics are super important. Study there a minute. We're going to keep rolling. And Vortex is the right call. We've been using them tried and true. We haven't used anything else, and we won't be. So if y'all are interested in checking them out, go to their website, vortexoptics.com, or check them out on our website, seek-one.com, search Vortex. You can find them there as well if you want to do some research on what item is the right fit for you. And do me a favor, go check out Vortex on all their social pages. They post some pretty cool stuff too. Appreciate you guys. Back to the podcast. This might be the most interesting podcast that we ever do. One of them. We are here, well, I'm not going to say where we are, but or state or anything, just for, I don't want to, anyways. We are sitting in the presence of the pinnacle of whitetails. This is the buck known as the General. It is the largest typical to have ever known to walk planet Earth. We just did a video, and I'll do some introductions here. Cody, Josh, Ryer, and I'll kind of get into the background of how we all sort of came to be sitting here. But we just filmed a video, and to me it was it felt historic. I don't know if that is appropriate or not, but we had another buddy, Mike, the antler collector here, and he has the world's largest non-typical sheds.
Right.
Is it the Missouri Monarch or
Minnesota
the
Monarch?
Minnesota
Yep.
Monarch. So to have the largest non-typical sheds ever known to man, along with the largest typical sheds from a buck that, the largest typical we've ever known to exist, together in the same place is like, it felt historic.
Right. And actually, to think that we had the top 3 typicals and 2 of the top 3 non-typicals there as well. Some crazy visuals yesterday.
Yeah, we had the number 1, the general. What was the number 2 typical?
The Moloch sheds.
The Moloch sheds.
And then
and then these here, this one here, and that one there, the Moloch sheds.
These are the Phantoms here.
Are those Phantom of the Cornfield?
Yep. Okay,
yeah, the Molochs are the number 2.
Yeah, the smoky ones.
Yeah, I'm gonna learn all these names. But that was cool about the Moloch sheds was they were like yellow.
Yep.
And I originally thought it was from like some weird weathering or something like that, but it was like, no, this guy smoked cigarettes, which to that guy's defense, if I had those sheds sitting at my house, I would probably stare at them all day and smoke cigarettes too. And it actually, I guess he did it so much that it changed the coloring.
Right.
But that's like what's so fascinating to me is like the stories, the history, kind of the folklore around all of these kind of legendary whitetails. And I didn't know anything about this world really. Like, I've seen the North American whitetail magazines and some of this stuff about these legendary bucks, the hole in the horn buck, like kind of all this stuff. But I wasn't really aware of the like collecting world until seeing that Whitetail Cribs episode with Keith Snyder, going through his basement and just like he was talking about some of the values of those deer, the rarity, the stories and stuff, and it's just fascinating. So and I've always seen the general in all these magazines growing up. Do we probably need to cut that? I think we can hear that pretty. Probably cut it off. Yeah. Can you hear it? I can hear it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can hear it.
But just to like, I didn't realize, I guess with any world and any collecting world, I mean, whether it's Pokemon cards or baseball cards or, there's always the Hank Aaron first edition, whatever the most expensive baseball card out there. I mean, like this is kind of that comparison. But whitetails are so unique. They're always one of one. Josh, I think it was you that said they're like kind of nature's art. Or maybe it was Mike. I don't remember who it was, but I think it might have been Mike. But it's like, it's true. It's for these deer to just be like naturally created. There's something, the word that keeps coming back to me is like mesmerizing about looking at the general. Just like knowing the history, the story. It's almost like sitting at a campfire and you're staring at the fire and the watching the logs burn. There's something mesmerizing about it. All of us as whitetail fanatics you can't take your eyes off this deer. You can just sit there and stare at him for hours. But so anyways, that's a little bit of the background of what we just did. You can only unpack so much of this story in an episode. We kind of hit some of the high points, but I want to take a deep dive into the story of the general. Because there's lots of history, lots of, I guess, recent controversy, lots of recent updates. And I kind of want to unpack it all. So Cody and I met just recently. I mean, I was seeing your stuff on Instagram and seeing all these, you holding these legendary bucks. And we'll do a podcast after this together, getting into your family history with your dad and stuff. But reached out to you and was like, hey, I'm kind of looking at doing this legendary bucks potential series or just videos and putting it together. I think it'd be really cool and fascinating just to show the world some of the most historic whitetails. And pretty quickly you lined this thing up with Josh.
Yeah, Well, and it's just interesting because we talk about the stories all the time, and I loved watching you engage with all these deer because when we first started, it was almost something where like it was more of a thought. We're like, I think these stories are really valuable, and it's surprising that you don't see that as much in the mainstream. So we're like, okay, there's something here, but how do you tell the stories and how do you really do it the right way? So just it validated it for me to see you like turn around and see some of these deer for the first time and just be like, I don't even know what to say. And then all of a sudden you're holding deer that maybe you've only seen in a magazine and you've seen them your whole life and never realized you'd be holding them in your hand.
It's surreal. I mean, it's a surreal feeling, you know, seeing that deer in all these magazines and videos and things like that, and to actually like have them in front of you, it is surreal. I mean, he is there's, and this is words of Keith Snyder in that video, it's like, there is no one greater. Like he shouldn't have been named the general. He should have been named whatever the top is, because there's no greater whitetail than him, in my opinion. And so connected with Cody just in a Instagram DM. You lined this up really quickly, and got to meet with Josh, which is to give a little bit of your background. Cody was telling me like you're a blue collar guy kind of growing up, and you told me you ran an outfitter. Is that right?
Yep. I was a guide and outfitter for 15 years. We did bow hunts for deer and turkeys in the spring and trout fishing. So,
and then you, I guess at some point started a new business that, I mean, clearly has done well for you.
Yeah. So interestingly enough, when you're a guide, you get to meet a lot of people, right?
Yeah.
And so as you transition through life, you're fired up about one thing. And I kind of got to a point where I wanted to be the guy going on the hunts rather than the guy taking people out on the hunts.
Right.
And so I was blessed with good opportunities and good people around me to support me and cheer me on. And we made a run in real estate for about the past 15, 20 years. And it's I've been very blessed.
Yeah, that's awesome. So I say that to, jump into these were just bought. These two antlers right here were just purchased for $1 million, which is pretty hard to fathom. But it's like, I think someone could look at it like, oh yeah, some guy just bought them, but it's like, no, you were worked your way into where you are to be able to be in the position to own a piece of history like this, is just really cool that you kind of started as a hunting guide, and took the right opportunity and clearly made the most of it. And the treatment you've given us here has been unmatched, like anything I've ever experienced. This has been above and beyond anything that we definitely deserve. But so take me back to, because I know that Josh, you did a really deep dive in kind of the whole background, the whole history. Like, take me back to, and Cody, you two, both of y'all, like the amount of knowledge y'all have on the general in this room is almost probably unmatched to anybody out there. But take me back to like the first thing we know about the general. Is this set we have here, is that the first set that we know of him?
That is the first set that we know of. So I was a freshman in college when the article in North American Whitetail came out about the general. Mm-hmm. And that was a time where my whole life revolved around bow hunting for deer. Classes were like third on the list. I wanted to go bow hunting when the fall came. And in West Virginia at that time, I didn't realize that there probably wasn't a deer like the general in West Virginia. Like, I didn't know that fact. So when I went out to hunt, like, I'm expecting to see the general stick his head around a tree. Yeah. It just never happened, just a different era. I didn't understand then that different states and different pockets had bigger deer than other areas. And I was in one of the less fortunate areas of the country. So it came out in night, and I was immediately infatuated. Like you said, when you look at the deer, it's not just the fact that he is the largest net typical ever, that we know of. It's the look of the deer, right? Just when you see it, even though his G2s don't match, the 3 and the 4 on one side match the 2 and the 3 on the other. So he still looks super symmetrical. One thing that dings him really bad on score is that not symmetrical part. So it deducts over 12 inches from his net score, which is just crazy. But yeah, so that was my first introduction to the general, was Dick Idle writing about him in North American Whitetail.
So, real quick, what is Milo Hansen's record score?
Just over 213.
213 net.
Yep.
And what does the general net?
Well, yeah, without knowing the official spread, but we know that, one side is 108 and change and the other is 103 and change. So he'd be around a 211 without a spread.
So what was Milo's again?
213.
So he's almost beating Milo's with no spread.
Right.
Yeah, that's kind of the gross score. Once you take the symmetry deductions and take the stickers off.
Okay.
And we can assume a 24-inch spread conservatively.
Okay, gotcha.
It puts them around 216. Yeah.
Gotcha. So that was kind of your first awareness of the general, seeing it in magazines, things like that. How did you get into antler collecting?
Well, interestingly enough, it's because of this room right here.
Really?
So a couple years ago, we came out to look at this property and we walked into this room, and the previous owner had amazing taxidermy on the walls. A couple big elk back here, 160 to 200-inch whitetails on the wall. And when you walked in this room, it really felt just electric and like just a really, really great feeling of being surrounded by cool stuff. And so we fortunately closed on the property, came back a couple months later, walked in the same room, and all the taxidermy was gone. And it just felt bare. It felt empty. And I thought, oh man, this is not, this doesn't have the same feel. So my wheels start turning, thinking like, how can I recreate that feeling in this room? And I've always loved antlers. I've always loved shed hunting, but I never dreamed I would be the guy that would pay money for somebody else's deer or their shed antler. Like I'm not that guy.
I remember you saying it felt weird a little bit.
It felt really weird. Like I didn't kill it. I didn't find it. How could it mean anything to me, right? Well, then through Cody, I met Mike Sharuis, and Mike started showing me some of these world-class shed antlers. And then I realized when I held the Minnesota Monarchs, I realized like I will never find a shed like this in my life. So if I want a sure enough collection of bigger sheds, I'm going to have to buy them. So that got me thinking like, what would be the ultimate experience walking into this room when we bring friends and family over? And man, I immediately thought, oh my gosh, if you could walk into this room and the general was hanging on the wall, that would bring that feeling back times 20, right?
Oh yeah. Great conversation piece.
Great conversation piece. So I, like you, I had seen Cody pop up on Instagram, and I thought, man, if anybody in the world would know where the general's at or how one would go about buying the general, it would be Cody. So I reached out to him, which led to a phone conversation. And my son Alex and I were driving out here, bringing a truck out for a muzzleloader hunt last September. And that's when I called Cody and said, hey, Cody, I want to buy the general. And he just kind of laughed and said, Josh, I know you're new to this world, but you just don't go buy the general. Like that doesn't happen. And I was like, oh, okay, well, keep it in mind.
Yeah.
And so we came out, had a great hunt. And then fast forward to January, I'm on a trip with my family in Hawaii. And at 10:30 at night in Hawaii, I get a voice message from Cody saying, hey, I've been talking to Keith, and over the past several months since you spoke to me about possibly purchasing the general. And man, the craziest thing, like I worked out a deal with Keith where I'm the exclusive broker for the general, and Keith is at a point in his life for various reasons, like he's ready to sell the general. So all of a sudden, like I'm in the pole position to purchase the greatest deer, in my mind, the greatest deer to ever walk the earth. And I was like, oh my gosh. So when you get that voice message, I immediately called Cody, who's on the East Coast at home in Florida. It's 2:30 in the morning there. I wasn't thinking, I'm just thinking you can't leave a message like that and I'm going to call you back, right? So I call Cody up, and he answers the phone at 2:30 in the morning, and I'm sure he's laying in bed falling asleep, and I'm just going, blah, 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 a million questions like, hey, why, and this and that and the other. So yeah, that's how it kind of went down. So I'll go back to like, yeah, the purchase price is crazy. It's really weird for me to be sitting in this room with you guys, with Cody Idle, with Lee Ellis, talking about spending $1 million on a pair of shed antlers. Like this is a very surreal moment for me. But the fact of the matter is, like, I was blessed. I love the deer so much. I was in the pole position, and I knew no matter what, if I did not take action on this opportunity, I would forever regret it the rest of my life.
Yeah, I mean, I would think that whoever has these may never let them go. Like an opportunity to have them is, potentially once in a lifetime. I'm curious, Cody, like how long would the line be of people that would be in line trying to get access to buy the General? Like, is there a bunch of people out because I know, like the Bass Pro collection, like I know that they're a big antler collector. I mean, I know there's a lot of collectors out there. I mean, do you think there's other people that would have jumped all over it?
Yeah, I certainly do. Now, I didn't think that it was like from the moment we decided to do it to when the transaction happened, it was like 30 days.
Quick.
So that I didn't know. When I first spoke to Keith and when it was put on me that I was excited to sell the General until I found out it was $1 million. And then I said, well, Keith, this could take, a month, this could take years. I don't know. I knew that market was out there and those people were out there. But it's just I never really got to get into the actual process because the strange thing is, I don't know if we shared this with you, but the only reason it came up in the first place was because of his initial phone call. I wasn't even, in the market to do that. And yet I didn't know Keith personally with, social media and stuff like that, but I didn't know him personally. So that was my first conversation with him too. So if Josh hadn't have initiated the conversation, I never would have called him. And so it's like, in a way,
it was kind of you reaching out that put you first to the punch on it.
Yeah. He manifested it. Really, I believe, you really wanted it. And through those series of actions, that's the only reason it even came to the table. But yeah, of course, companies like Bass Pro stuff come to mind. I had some folks that I wanted to reach out to, but again, that was a much bigger question mark. But so and the funny thing is when we had that conversation, I'm like, I got good news and some other news.
Sure.
Like you're going to have a chance if you want it, but here's what it's going to be.
Yeah.
So I had no idea how Josh was going to interpret that. We've since become great friends. At that time, didn't know each other as well yet, just a couple phone conversations. So it was a very interesting time, really.
Mike, yesterday I'm going to confuse this for a while. Is it that he has the Minnesota Monarch?
Correct.
I asked him, I was like, are these $1 million sheds? And he goes, 100%. Like with no doubt in his mind, he's like, yep, 100%.
Yep.
So it's not crazy. Like that's just some of these again, it's like if you had whatever the holy grail of baseball cards would be, the Babe Ruth first edition or, whatever signed, kind of like that's kind of the comparison here is like he is the top of the top of the top. Like there is no one greater.
I think the other thing to note that I'm sure you guys will talk about, but, in terms of collecting, when you start looking at just general collections and what brings value, it's the pieces that represent history. And, if you're talking about, let's say, World War II, there's certain things that are unique and tell a story about World War II that are worth a large amount of money, not because it's an object, even if it's a very impressive object. It's because of what that object represents inside of a part of history. And when you're looking at a deer like that, you're really looking at not only a piece of general natural history, you're looking at a piece of American history, and you're looking at a piece of natural American history. How many years from now are people going to be able to say, these are the greatest whitetails that have ever walked on the earth? Like, people talk about finding really rare dinosaur bones and full skeletons and stuff like that. You're looking at a similar representation. This is a piece of physical natural history that forever will be in the history books as like, this is what a whitetail can be.
Yeah.
This is like the greatest example of what a whitetail can be. And it walked the earth, and obviously it has its own unique story that's very cool. But This is a piece of natural history that could very well go in a museum and live there for decades, if not centuries.
Undisturbed by man, like completely created by nature, I think is what's really cool. And it's like there's millions of hunters, millions of them out there in the U.S. and in Canada and Mexico, like everywhere, that are hunting whitetails. And it's like, this is the number one. Like this is in all of history that we know. Like this is number one. So to me, it's like, is it worth that? Yeah. In my opinion, I think those antlers. I mean, there's a Pokemon card, a little piece of cardboard that sold for like $5 million. I think Logan Paul, the YouTuber, bought it. It's like, at the end of the day, that's a man-made little piece of paper Pokemon card, but it's valued. They bought $5 million. I'd rather have these things than a Pokemon card. I've got and we haven't even dug into the history of the controversy, but like even just where we're at now with the purchase price and stuff like that. I mean, what is the due diligence like on that? I mean, is it, what was that process like?
Yeah, so when the opportunity comes, it's the excitement of like, oh my gosh, I'm in the pole position to purchase the General. Is this really happening? And then the business sense kicks in, right? You're like, okay, so, I need to go talk to the people who know this deer, have had history with this deer, and just kind of like, make sure there's nothing that's going to go wrong. So I did a deep dive on the General, talked to some guys that knew about the deer. There were rumors that the deer might have had kickers. I did know that prior to the
Ahead
purchase.
of time.
There were definite rumors of that. There were two rumors. One was dispelled quickly, that it was a pin raised deer. That's a joke. When you go back and look at it, came from 1959. Outdoor.
Were there even pin raised deer in 1959?
Not that I know of.
Okay.
Not that I found. Really, what solidified it for me, and if you go back into, there's a great online archive of Outdoor Nebraska magazine. And it was really cool. I went back and found one from 1958, and Custer County was in the central unit, and they were having the first deer season they've ever had in 1958. And in Outdoor Nebraska magazine, it mentioned that there was a lot of trophy potential in that unit, which included Custer County, where the General came from. There was a lot of trophy potential in that county because the hunters would get an opportunity to hunt an unshot herd. That's what they called it, an unshot herd. So the state even recognized that, hey, there's a area right here that's never been hunted before, and we know there's trophy deer in this area, right? So all that lined up, and I found a lot of evidence that dispelled the pin raised deer rumor. Mm-hmm. But that was like the kicker for me. Like the state recognized that there's mega trophy potential right here in this unshot herd. So the kicker rumor was there. The pin raised deer rumor was there. We dug up letters that were sent. I ran across a letter from Tim Condict to Tom Sexton, who we'll learn later. Tom Sexton's the one that actually did the repairs on the antlers. So we dug up the letter. We heard about the stickers. We heard about the pin raise rumor. Those were like the three big things, that we took a look at that were like potential, like, would cancel the deal, mm-hmm. right?
Did you interview like the family members, or have you spoken to them since? Or
so I actually did not prior to the purchase.
Okay.
You could imagine after the controversy comes out, 40 days later, the pictures pop up online with the stickers. You could imagine at that point, me going a little bit crazy and digging in even further. So after that, I immediately went out we flew out to the guy that had the sticker pictures, and that was a blessing of a trip because we validated the pictures. We got to go to the place where the sheds were found. We got to walk in Ben Barnhart's house, up on the wall where the General hung since at least the mid 1970s to 1995. There's a red stag carpet of a stag in velvet still hanging on the wall where the General hung beside it. We know from the sticker pictures that where the General was hanging and that rug was still hanging on the mm-hmm. wall. So it's really cool to go back there. The people out there are amazing. I mean, down to earth, just great people. They just welcomed us and it was a great experience to go. It was like walking on holy ground to be where the general grew,
Was that the first time he's been returned there that you know of?
That is the first time he's been back home. Yep.
So you took the sheds back out to kind of maybe the alleged spot of like exactly where it was found.
Yeah, so that was a big deal. Like, we want to go to the spot. So we talked to a lot of different people, and I know we weren't on the exact spot, but I know we were really close. Yeah.
What was the story? One was found in a bush, like hanging in a bush or something.
Yeah. So if you're a shed hunter, everybody wants to find an antler over 100 inches, right? I think he may have done that. Everyone wants.
What was the? I don't remember what it was.
The bigger side was 108.
108,
wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, we which I'd measured those in the past, but I didn't even write them down. I forgot what they were, but we measured the shed from Ohio last night. But sorry to get sidetracked there. But.
Oh no, it's fine. Like the shed hunters list is you want to find an antler over 100 inches, and then you want to find a hanger. And a hanger is a shed antler that's hanging in a fence line or hanging in a bush or whatever. So one, I don't know which side, but one side of the general was a hanger. It was literally in a willow bush. And Ben Barnhart found that antler, and shortly, I heard anywhere from 4 to 50 yards was the other antler was laying.
Now was Ben Barnhart, was he just a farmer? Was he just out for a walk? Like what was kind of the story with that? I mean, do you know much of him finding them? And
yeah, so Ben Barnhart, just a salt of the earth guy, grew up farming, went off to World War II. He was a veteran and a sailor. Came back, and he was one of the siblings that helped the family out with the farm. And so he went back to where he grew up and lived right there. And he was actually out. The story that I read is that he was out looking for a lost cow, kind of checking the fence line, and saw the one hanging in the willow bush.
Gosh, I cannot imagine going out looking for a cow, stumbling upon that. This is what I was talking about last night, is like, I can't imagine finding those antlers and not being like, did he hunt the deer?
I don't know the answer to that question. I feel like no. The interesting thing, when I went back and looked at the Outdoor Nebraska magazines, on the cover of all these magazines from the 50s and 60s, there's not any deer. It's all pheasants and quail. So go back to an era where pheasants and quail are what you go hunt. Like you go shoot your dinner, right? And deer are kind of like, they're there, and they're probably, to farmers, they're probably growing increasingly annoying as the herd grows and they eat more and more crops. So I don't think, my sense is like deer weren't respected as much in that era as they would be today. Case in point, like I don't know for sure where the antlers were kept between finding them in the mid 1970s. I know in the mid 1970s that the Barnhart family took them down to Broken Bow and had them put on the green velvet plaque that's famous now with the sticker pictures. They had someone else put that on the plaque, and they gave it to Ben for Christmas. Really? They kind of formalized his antlers, and that's when they got hung on the wall, was mid-1970s.
So they maybe just sat around somewhere random, like
could have been in the basement, could have been inside, could have been in the barn. I don't really know for sure where they were.
Because he found them in the
He found them in 1959.
And then it was what year that they gave it to him? On the
mid-1970s, according to his son Jim. Yeah,
roughly 10 or so years that they just kind of were laying around.
Yep.
Imagine finding the general and chucking him in a corner
tossing
somewhere.
In the barn, yeah. Those are neat. Yeah, and throwing it away. But But that's what the folklore around, and there's so many other cool stories about whitetails. We'll get into that in the next podcast, but like just about this story, like the folklore around it is, to me, it makes it more, it adds to the story adds to the value. We talked about that. If the story was just kind of like, yeah, this guy found him and, I don't know, just like had him for, or no one really knows anything about it. It doesn't really, like, the story kind of is what I think is more and more intriguing about it.
Right. And obviously we're going to get into the whole story, but it's just crazy too that you're spanning from 1959 till today, and to have it be a big story basically in the 90s when it really gets discovered, and then you have another 30 years, and then all of a sudden just as big of a story comes out. Like it's like this deer was meant to be like talked about and celebrated. And I mean, he's been written about, he's been on covers, but it's just like the general keeps coming back as that like centerpiece deer that just kind of an icon.
Well, to me, like it's a historic artifact. Like the stories we're talking about right now, it's hard for me to fathom that these exact antlers in front of us right now live that story. Like that he found that hanging, whichever antler it was, like hanging in a bush, and like that these sat in a barn for all these years. Like all this, I mean, it's historic artifacts, really. But it's hard to fathom, like just because they preserve, like we talked about it yesterday, like antlers preserve so well. This looks like you could have picked it up yesterday. Mm-hmm. It's just hard for me to personally fathom like all of the things that these antlers have gone through. You have insurance on these things?
Yes, sir.
That's like a looming question I've had and who the heck insures? Like, was that a weird request? Like, hey, insurance company,
I felt like it was going to be I felt like it was going to be a really weird request. It's a little bit awkward to go, call somebody up or email them and say, hey, I got a collectible. So the reality is it falls under collectibles.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's not as crazy after I asked the question, because she was telling me, the insurance lady was telling me about other people that had insured crazy things for crazy amounts of money. So mine wasn't as odd as I thought it might be in the beginning. Yeah.
I think I've always heard that Taylor Swift insures her legs. I might have completely made that up. I really don't know. Someone told me that at some point. Maybe I dreamed it. I don't know. But like,
Cody, do you have insurance on your biceps?
I do.
I thought so.
So so the sheds are found. They go missing, or they're just in a mysterious place for 10, 12 years, however long that is. They get put, and the pictures are taken, being put on this kind of pedal or mount sort of thing. They give it to Ben for his birthday.
For Christmas. Yep.
What happens then? They just go kind of back to the family house for a long time?
Yep. They hang on the wall in the Barnhart family house until, the pictures, the sticker pictures, we call them the Saner photos or the sticker pictures. Those were taken. There's actually a date on the photo. It's like March 29th, 1995.
Right.
And what prompted the Barnhart family to take the pictures was the fact that Ben was selling them to Tim Condict. So the antlers are leaving that have been hanging on the wall from, let's call it 1975 to 1995.
How did that discovery process happen? So is Tim an antler collector?
No, Tim was an outfitter.
Okay.
So Tim he's wanting to expand his hunting territory and find new leases, right? So he ends up in Nebraska. So he gets a rumor that the rumor is that someone's got a set of antlers hanging in their house that's bigger than anything they have down at that Cabela store, right? That's the rumor. And so Tim tracks the lead down, ends up getting to the Barnhart house, and he walks in, and as the story goes, he looks around in the room and immediately kind of feels foolish because, he doesn't really see anything, and there's nothing there that's world record size. And then Ben goes, look up above you, and Tim raises his head up, and you can imagine it's 32 and 7/8 inch beam and a 32 inch beam, and he's looking up directly above him at this massive frame, and instantly he knows, like.
And so that's where the pictures came from. Did he snap those photos?
No. So he would have. That's when Tim would have discovered the rack and knew what it was,
okay.
Right? And then from that point, he would have been interested in getting them purchased. And so I guess there was a time period where a deal was worked out. And then once the deal was achieved, that's what prompted the Barnhart family to go ahead and take photos before the antlers left the house.
As a keepsake. Keepsake.
Exactly.
Okay, gotcha.
Yep.
And prior to that point, the antlers were not widely known.
They were not known at all.
Right.
Like just the rumors of maybe some local folks.
Exactly.
So up until that point, nobody even knew, but people who had seen them and maybe some rumors that this even existed anywhere.
That's correct. Yep. So Tim Condict gets them. Brad Zell's involved, and the next thing you know, he comes to the world in the December '96 issue of North American Whitetail.
So that's how he ended up in the collecting world. To me, like, do you think there's another world record out there that someone has, or typical or non-typical that like they don't know what they have?
Absolutely.
You think so?
I mean, we just
too.
saw the Sam Iopa buck. I mean, there's an example right there. It's been in his basement all these years, and it's the new number 2. You know, it's story had it that he was more of a bird hunter, but he had a deer tag and happened to see that buck that day and shot him. And I don't remember his final score. He just got officially scored not so long ago, but yeah, he's the new number 2. But he shot him like 30 years ago.
Wow.
So back to the due diligence question you asked earlier. Like I went ahead and expected the moment that I purchased the General. Like I knew in my mind somebody is going to like raise up some antlers from Iowa and be like, look at these suckers, and it's going to crush the General. Like, so I had accepted the fact that the record might possibly be broken and probably will. Didn't know anything about the stickers, but I accepted that fact, and I just felt like the General's still the General. Even if he
That's
gets
what I was
beat
about to
tomorrow,
say, whether
like,
he's the record or not, he's still historic.
He's still the General. Yeah, and you cannot get history, from 1959 to present day. Any buck that surfaces now is not going to have that much history.
So take us from what we know when Tim, right, has the antlers.
Yep, Tim has the antlers.
He's got them. Where do they kind of go from there?
So there's some holes in the story here that I'm still piecing together. But Tim gets the antlers, and I don't know a guy named Brad Zell's involved. And so from that point, so sometime between that transaction, or let me back up, sometime from when the pictures were taken on March 29th, 1995, and then the next time we see him is in December of 96, and there's something missing. The stickers aren't there. So you fill in the blank. I don't know the answer. I just don't know what happened.
So what we're talking about, we've talked about the stickers, is that as he was naturally and in the photos that the Barnhart,
correct.
Barnhart family took, he has 2 stickers, one off of his left G3 and one off of his right G2. In the antlers, as he is here, they're shaved off and gone. So I think it's safe to say that someone who knew what they were looking at, which in my opinion would probably be someone in the collector world, would have tried to shave them off to make sure he was the world record.
No doubt.
So, but who that is still kind of a mystery.
It's a question mark.
And it really wasn't known until right after you purchased it, right?
Yeah, the craziest thing, 40 days to the day, I was blessed to purchase the General on my birthday, March 26, 2025. 40 days later to the day, photos surface on the Antler Collectors page. And it's Bill Sainer, who's just saw a post that Mike had made about the General, where a 1963 set was found. So Mike made a post comparing the 63 set of the General to the 59 set. And Bill gets excited and says, oh man, I have history with that deer. My neighbor found it, and I've got some pictures. So he posted up a couple pictures. One was the deer in Cabela's store, and the other was the famous Sainer photo with the original General with the stickers on.
He had chew marks too, like a squirrel.
He did, yeah. So his right G3 had a big hole chewed in it. Yep.
Right.
Yep.
That's so there was no news of the General for a long time, and then the second you purchase him, the stickers controversy, the stickers photos emerge, another match set comes out that someone else has of the General from a different year,
Right.
and then you've also told me that was it some lady had another one side of him from another year.
That's correct.
So no news has come out with him for all these years, and then all of a sudden you buy him, and within 40 days,
Tidal wave.
a tidal wave
Yep.
of bombs get dropped on you on this deer.
Yeah. So really and truly, I'm just sitting here reflecting on this and just really wondering, like, what's the purpose of this? This is too many coincidences at once.
Yep.
Like, there's something that's got to be, that's, has to come out of this. I don't know. I just don't. I feel like I'm on the outside looking in and going, this is not possible.
Yeah, the timing of that. I bet you were probably a little bit stressed, huh?
It was an awkward phone call. Hey, Cody, remember that set of antlers you sold me not too long ago?
Well, we talked about this yesterday, and it's like I'm assuming your concern would be like the value. Like, are they, essentially bogus or
Fraudulent?
Fraudulent, sure. In my opinion, I think he looks cooler with the stickers.
Yep.
And
Looks good.
I think that's what's been another special part of what we've done this last day and a half is that you guys had an exact replica done, which is what we're looking at here in the middle of him with his stickers. And this is the first time he's ever been basically recreated into exactly as he was, as God made him.
Right.
I think he looks cooler with them. I do. I know that you'd be concerned. Like, does it affect the value? Or, to me, it just adds to the whole story of it all. Like,
yeah, you can imagine a couple days of I don't want to say depression, but like a couple days of like, oh, it's so like my family legacy is important. My wife and my daughter are looking at me like, okay, so yeah, we knew that was going to happen. Like, that was a bad move, dad and husband. So you do panic a little bit, and you do think, and and it's just there was a couple days of like, oh crap. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I remember being on the sidelines, just seeing the pictures I think you were posting. I heard that the Generals bought. And then I think it was through your page, I was kind of getting the news of the General and how, oh my gosh, these new pictures came out and he's got these points and it was shaved. And I don't think I ever caught wind of the other sheds that were kind of coming forward, but I knew the stickers deal was like a big deal.
It's just interesting though, just to kind of separate again, we talked about the history versus just it being a giant deer. I think all this adds to his story. Like you said, something interesting when we first talked, when I told him the price and everything else, and he said, well, what if, a world-class deer comes out that beats him? And the example that I gave him was, I was like, what do you think's the most valuable deer in the world? And pretty quickly said, probably the hole in the horn. And I said, well, what about the Missouri Monarch? It's number one. Why is number two the more valuable? It's his story, his history, and he's more iconic. No one even hardly talks about the Missouri Monarch. So at the end of the day, even if tomorrow a giant came out that beat him, he's still the General. And that's the distinctive you made the point, Caleb, about the history being more than just the item. So this history here, and it's still unfolding right now. If we did another podcast in 6 months, we're probably going to have more layers to this story.
Probably so. Yeah, probably so.
I think the mystery is part of the story.
For sure.
Think about the movies that people like to watch and the documentaries of, all these different stories. There's always an element of mystery, especially when you're talking about something from, the 50s. I mean, there's just parts of the story that you may never have answers for, and it's that curiosity and the human desire to want to have answers that drives people to really dive into it and learn about it and try to make their own theories and interact with it. If you have all the facts, you just go, oh, okay, X, Y, and Z, boom. But if Y is missing, you can kind of go, well, I think it's this, and then somebody else can go, well, I don't know, I think it's this. And then you can have a whole conversation, and it brings it to life in a way that just having all the answers doesn't. It makes you really put yourself in the General's position and try to follow that story with him. And I think it's just natural that we as humans love mystery, and it just adds so much to the experience to just really contemplate what all has happened with this deer.
It builds the intrigue, I think, exponentially about it. Kind of like I said earlier, like kind of envisioning, like just having this antler in front of you, what all it's been through with it originally being found. And then the fact that I'm holding this antler and somebody sat here and actually it would I could not do that. to physically take an antler like this and shave it, like it would hurt me so much. But to sit here and hold it and know that some mystery man, someone out there sat there and shaved it, to me, it adds so much to the folklore of it all. It definitely builds the intrigue. I think it makes it more historic than anything.
Yeah, so you go through the couple days of like, oh my gosh, Cody and I are on the phone constantly, like, what, oh my gosh, how do we figure this out? Like, do we get a refund? Like, does the commission go away? Like, what do we do with this thing? And so again, you take a deep dive on what's going to happen from this point. And really, I got to looking at kind of our point we're talking about. There's two trains of thought here. One is like, all right, the stickers are shaved, and if you're in the antler collecting world, it is a fraudulent rack. Like it is no longer the typical. It can't even be in the book because it's a manipulated rack, right? So there's that world. Historically, anything that's happened to, the value will absolutely go down in the collecting world, no doubt about it. However, the general is an anomaly, right? And then when you really look at pieces of collector pieces and what makes them valuable, it's only one thing, and it's the story. And so now, like, I've came to the realization, like, Cody and I talked about Romans 8:28, all things that happen, what's the verse, Romans 8:28?
All things happen for his good.
Yeah, so no matter what, like, God says all things, which means good things and bad things, will be good. Like even though you might not see it in the beginning. So I kind of came to the realization, like, oh my gosh, like now I'm excited. Like the story is, there's no way you can make all this stuff up that he sold for $1 million. The stickers got shaved off. 2 antlers, the 60-year-old antlers surfaced in the same month. In a single,
so
like
crazy.
What? Like, so now I'm like totally excited. We have an literally unbelievable story. And really, when you think, we call him America's deer now. And when you think about the deer himself, like all he did was grew the world record rack in 1958. That's all he did. Like he was great. He was awesome. When he was originally created, he was awesome. Then man comes by, screws everything up.
Yep.
Screws it up.
Like we always do.
Like we always do. Me too. Everybody. We screw it up. But now, like, look at the story of redemption. We're looking at the original general. Like he's brought back. So it's almost like tying it to the Bible and the redemption story and the good news,
Yeah, to me, it's like a bit shameful that man, like, just like changed what he was. He was already the ultimate. And it's like, that part that man had to put their fingerprint on it just like eats me up, or just, but it's fascinating. And I think what's like the part that's crazy to me is like, how are these people sitting out there as well known as the general is? How are they sitting out there with antlers? Do they know the whole time, oh, I've got another set from the general? Or is it like all of a sudden a light bulb goes off in their head one day where it's like, oh, this is probably that deer, and let me come forward about it? Like, what do y'all know the answer to that?
Yes. Yeah. So the Iowa Deer Classic 2025, which interestingly enough, I attended for the first time in my life. I was there. But so basically the antler comes in to the North American Shed Hunter Club at the Iowa Deer Classic. And they realize, like, when those guys see it, like, these guys know antlers, like, I mean, unbelievable.
So this person strolled in with it?
This lady walks in with 2 antlers that were handed down to her from her grandfather that came out of a trunk that they found after he was deceased. And so she brings them to get them scored at the shed. That's what people do. They bring the shed antlers to the North American Shed Hunters Club at the Iowa Deer Classic so they can enter them in the shed contest or have them scored or whatever. Mm-hmm. And so she strolls in with them. Well, Shane Endebro's there and immediately is like...
So she didn't know.
She had no idea. No idea. So she, right? She walks in. Shane's like, you could imagine he's going crazy. Well, that, the way I understand it, led to a conversation with a friend of his named Ryan Pellersels. And the term, the city Sergeant Nebraska, comes up. And Ryan goes, Oh, well, I have a set of sheds from Sargent, Nebraska from 1960 that were found in 1964. And Shane's like, well, send me a video of those things. Wouldn't that'd be, it's not going to happen, but wouldn't that be crazy if those were off the General? And so Ryan goes back home, sends the video to Shane, and Shane flips his lid. He's like, no way. There's no way 60 years later, 3 antlers from the General surface at the Iowa Deer Classic.
That's so crazy.
How's it possible? $1 million sale price, sticker pictures, 3 60-year-old antlers pop up within a month.
And you have one, is it one of the antlers?
I was able to purchase the set from Ryan.
The set, okay.
Yeah, the 63 set. Yep. And we think the other we call it the 61. We don't know for sure, but it was definitely between, 59 and 64.
So that's to me what is, fascinating is for a world record typical to exist is like the stars aligning on multiple levels, because it's not like the General was the world record for 5 years running. It's like there might have been 1 year where he was the record, and because all these other years, like he grew a little more. Didn't he grow like a more abnormal or just kind of not as grand and typical as he was?
For sure.
So it's like for a world record whitetail typical, like to exist, it may be 1 in a million whitetails out there, and then he may only have 1 year where he does it.
Right.
And it's that's what's fascinating to me is like how much has to kind of align for a whitetail to be this. It's like a miracle of nature for this deer to even exist the way he is. And the fact that it happened in 1959,
grew in 58 and found
in 59.
Yep.
All these years later, and he's like still the greatest we ever know about. It's crazy. It's crazy. It's really, really crazy. And to me, like as a whitetail enthusiast, and again, I didn't really know about the collecting world. When I reached out to you, I had no idea that you had any connections to the General. I really didn't. I just knew you were in the collecting world and just wanted to reach out because I thought about telling some stories about legendary deer. And here we are, 2 weeks later?
Yeah.
It's just fascinating. I'm honored to be here, and can't thank you guys enough for opening the doors and showing us this bit of history. And this thing right here, this is the coolest thing ever. So this is the half-size scale mini mount of the General as God made him, and it's like
the original General.
I still am blown away that you gave that to me, and I'm definitely not deserving of it in any way, shape, or form.
And that's the first one too.
One of one.
Just so you know. Yep. Not one of one, but the first one.
The first one.
Yeah, there will be more. Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. That's gonna go home and like it's gonna go in a prized place for me.
Nice.
So, thank you guys for sharing a bit of the story. Is there any other details or anything that we're missing? I mean, Ryer, do you have any other looming questions, or do y'all have any other? Am I missing any part of the history of?
I think for me, just a fun one is that actually when he first was discovered, they called him the Nebraska Giant, and my dad actually named him the General back shortly thereafter. Which, strangely enough, I actually haven't been able to get a lot of information as to why. They didn't document anything, and I talked to him about it, and it was like, I'm not 100% sure. So, because I think back to what Keith said, where it's like, I don't know why they went with the General and not the King or the Admiral or something like that. But yeah, he got switched over to that. And I think one other, just from the story of breaking the news of the kickers, that was the first time in all the years of social media stuff that I was actually like heart pounding. I'm realizing I'm about to hit post. Because this went from like, we found out about the kickers, we know we were going to share, we just wanted to figure out how we were going to tell the story, but we were going to put it all out there. And then we have a conversation one night, and it's like, I think we need to go ahead and break the story. And Josh was like, can you do it like tonight? It was like 8:00 at night, and he's like, can you do it now? And I was like, Well, I mean, it's the first time I felt I was like, there's going to be a ripple effect in the collecting world. It's going to shake everything. So like, I don't know, just hitting post to that and then being like, take my phone and leave it alone for a while because I don't want to even. We'll see how this goes. And as you can imagine, it was just this like tidal wave of, someone used my post to write. I think Dan Cole used the post to write a North American whitetail article about it. We started seeing it on podcasts everywhere, and I think that's the first time. It's actually the first time him and I got really excited about the OG, because we were like, the story's out there, and now we get to really celebrate this deer the way he was. And I love, out of all the stuff that got said, the very first post or the very first comment was Gordon Whittington, and in light of the kickers, he just said, "Oh, so you mean he's bigger than we thought he was?" So I was like, I like that attitude. I mean, you're just maybe not on his net score, but he had more inches as the way that God made him. So I mean, any which way you cut it, he's the best.
Yeah, it's still hard to look at and believe. Like that's the I just like, could you imagine shooting this thing and walking up on it, like, or what it would look like coming to you as you're hunting? Like, oh man, it'd just be.
Yeah, I'm just giving everyone a
perspective
of this deer.
How do you store these? Do you store them in like a vault? Like, how do you?
Yeah, so I need to, one thing about owning the General is I want to be a good owner. I want to be a good caretaker of the General. So when I got him, he was on a shoulder mount, and I wanted to enjoy him for a while with sheds because I like shed antlers, right? And so for now, he lives in the vault in the basement. But I've got to do something special with the deer. I want the deer to be shared, right? So one thing we talked about in a way of sharing them is putting the stickers back on, making the original General. And then we will have some replicas available, so because he does need to be shared. So as far as what's going to happen with the antlers, I need to think through that and do a really good job on where they need to live. And, they're a part of history, and I just can't keep them in the basement in a safe. They need to be out there.
Yeah. I guess that's kind of a tricky thing, because you're essentially carrying around $1 million that you want the public to see. Most people, if they had $1 million, they would lock it in a safe.
Right.
But this is something to be displayed. So I bet that's kind of a hard thing to balance.
Yeah, it's America's deer. So I need to figure that out. I need to figure out where he needs to live. Yeah. I want to share him.
Even like the car ride over here yesterday, it's like, man, if someone knew our plans and just like rolled up and wanted to rob us for everything we had, like they'd make a real good getaway.
I just imagine Mike going home yesterday with that truckload full of stuff just cruising down the highway.
I mean, he's carrying several, well over $1 million of antlers, just whipping around in his truck on the way home. That was funny. He didn't really take the dangling carrot that I left him with the sheds I had.
That was funny.
I didn't realize how special that measurement was from the base of the burr to the top of the G2, and how much, I guess, real estate that takes up.
Yep.
Both of them were 22 inches on both sides, which he doesn't have, or y'all said y'all never heard of.
It's the only known set out there that both antlers are 22 tall is the term. 22 inches tall. It's phenomenal.
I would never sell them, but I was dangling that carrot. I thought he would have been drooling over it, and maybe he was just keeping his cool. But I was trying.
For example,
the first chess piece, he just went like, all right.
The General's 20 tall, right? And those were 22. So when I think you took some pictures of him, but he is taller than the General.
Yeah, I was a little insecure about him when I first brought him. I know they're huge, but
there's no reason to be insecure about those.
I'm glad y'all didn't laugh at me. So.
I think the other thing that's interesting to me is, as far as we know, the General died of old age. He was not
correct.
He was not killed by a hunter.
Not taken by a hunter. Yep.
Is there any rumors of that he was?
There's a couple leads that I'm chasing down. Yeah, there was a skull with a non-typical rack that was found late 60s, early 70s.
In that same area.
In the same area. And so we're kind of tracking that lead down. I mean, oh my goodness!
Wouldn't that
you
be
talk
something?
About a newsbreaker?
And
to have the General skull dead.
And there's another antler too that we're tracking down the lead on. And these, I mean, to be honest, these are long shots. Okay.
Sure.
But there's that small chance. Like, I mean, with all the crazy news,
Yeah.
Nothing would
knows?
surprise you at this point.
Nothing would surprise us
Right.
at this point. Yep.
So those are active rumors y'all are pursuing.
Correct. Yep.
Then there may be more news to come.
Oh.
How, if you had to guess, how old do you think he was when he was wearing this set?
I think he was 6.5. Now, but let me back up and say, more than likely somewhere between 5.5 and 7.5.
Okay.
Yep.
And then the sets y'all do know of were kind of him
Going downhill.
digressing.
Yeah. Yeah. The 63 set, when you look at it compared to that, when you first glance, you're like, there's no way. The color's different. They were in different atmospheres or different climates for all those years, which affected the color. But when the 61 antler came in, it was like the perfect go-between, and it just ties them all together perfectly. We are going to do some DNA testing just to make sure, but
So you can take different antlers and DNA test to see if they do match.
So imagine taking an 1/8-inch drill bit
Yep.
into the general's antler. Right, that's going to feel a little bit weird, but we're going to get that done, and we've lined up with UC Davis, and they said, look, send them in. You got to pay whether they're viable or not. We don't know. It sounds like it can happen, but we just have to send the samples in and see if they're viable.
It's him. I mean, to me, undoubtedly, when you look at them, because the side-by-side picture y'all have of the 3 years stacked from behind, undoubtedly it's him.
Right.
Yeah, no question.
Yep.
Thank you for sharing a piece of history with us.
Yeah, man. Thanks for coming.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
This is a opportunity of a lifetime, and we don't take it for granted at all. So thank you guys for sharing them.
Certainly welcome.
Heck yeah, man.
We'll be staying tuned to, potentially more news to come. I feel like it's not over yet. I
We'll
feel
keep
like
you
there's
posted.
something else out there.
We'll keep you posted.
So, well, thank you guys for your time. Appreciate you guys listening. And we're actually going to do them with Cody because your family history and your knowledge of some of these other historic bucks is pretty phenomenal. So I'd like to hear some more stories.
Heck yeah. I'm excited to do it.
Cool. Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Thank you.